Ilia Topuria is the last real untouched contender at the UFC Featherweight division, and at this point it is becoming extremely scarce for contenders for the champ Alexander Volkanovski. Obviously, Ilia Topuria does have a tough matchup this weekend against Josh Emmett, where he will take on his first top 5 guy in his first 5-round matchup, and that's going to be a really big deal for Ilia Topuria. Maybe that puts him in a title eliminator, or maybe at this point even gives him a title shot at the rate of this division. Obviously, we also have a Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez matchup, so depending on how that matchup goes, can shake things up. Yair Rodriguez is probably one of the tougher tests for Alexander Volkanovski, so we can't necessarily walk by both of these matchups in general, but just looking at the foreseeable future here, looking at who the favorites are of this matchup, and we go along with that, this is a very scarce division in general. Let me go through it real quick of the top 15 contenders in this featherweight division. We have number 1 Yair Rodriguez, who is fighting Alexander Volkanovski, who again lost to number 2 on this list, Max Holloway. Max Holloway already lost to the champ 3 times. Number 3 ranked featherweight Brian Ortega has already lost to Alexander Volkanovski. Had a one really good round against him, pretty much got beaten up pretty badly. Outside of that, Arnold Allen just lost to Max Holloway, who's already lost to Alexander Volkanovski 3 times. Josh Emmett, who Ilia Topuria is fighting this weekend, just lost to Yair Rodriguez, who is challenging for the title and is coming off some 2 iffy wins over Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige. Calvin Kattar just got injured against Arnold Allen, lost to him, but has already lost to Max Holloway and I believe to Josh Emmett in an interesting decision. So take that with what you will, but that's 3 guys in the top 5. Korean Zombie already got beaten very badly against Alexander Volkanovski. Giga Chikadze is kind of there. He can't even get a matchup at this point. I don't even know who he's going to fight. Ilia Topuria obviously fighting Josh Emmett this weekend. Movsar Evloev is a good fighter, but I feel like all the hype that he kind of just got was just taken from him from Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez had a pretty good performance against him, had some really big moments, and almost had a couple chances to finish the fight. So I feel like the hype's kind of gone from Movsar. And let's be real, looking at the top 5 guys against Movsar, who are you taking Movsar over anybody in that one? I'll just say that at that point. I'm not hating on Movsar. I think he's a good fighter, but I just think in general, maybe he eventually does get to the top 5 in the division. But who do you see him beating at this point? Bryce Mitchell just got beaten by Ilia Topuria, pretty much dominated, brutally beaten in that one. Sadiq Youssef already lost to Arnold Allen. I guess maybe he can rise up at some point, but he's number 12. Dan Ige just beat Nate Landwehr, already lost to Movsar. Already lost to Josh, and I'm sure there's other guys in there too. Edson Barboza, older, number 14. Alex Caceres, number 15. So, looking at that division, if Alexander Volkanovski does beat Yair Rodriguez, what are the matchups for him at featherweight? You have Ilia Topuria, who's number 9 right now, fighting number 5. So what he'll likely need is another matchup. But depending on if Alexander Volkanovski wins, who are you giving that next matchup to? If Ilia Topuria beats Josh Emmett, you have Yair Rodriguez, who would have just lost to Alexander Volkanovski in that matchup. Yeah, Max Holloway, who's already lost 3 times to Alexander Volkanovski, is now fighting the Korean Zombie, which I don't think gets you a title shot at all. Brian Ortega, who got beaten pretty badly against Alexander Volkanovski, lost to Yair Rodriguez by injury. So, I mean, take that with what you will, but at this point, Arnold Allen lost to Max Holloway. He can get a win at some point and push himself in there, but I think by the time Arnold Allen comes back and gets a win in the top 5, Ilia Topuria will probably be ready. And he's already lost to Max Holloway. So, he can't even pass Max Holloway at that point, especially if Max Holloway keeps racking up wins. Josh Emmett, who would have just lost to Ilia Topuria, who do we see popping up here? Calvin Kattar already lost 3 times to the top 5. Ilia Topuria is really the next guy here. I don't want to say if you're the UFC, because realistically, I don't want Volk to lose. I really like Volk. He's one of my favorite fighters. But in general, if he were to lose to Yair Rodriguez, maybe this cleans this up a little bit more. You get a little bit more contenders moving up, and it kind of, the division allows you to get another contender at that point, just because it does give you some time to do the rematch between Yair Rodriguez, and say Yair wins, it's a different story because now you have a whole bunch of new contenders. But if Volkanovski wins, then you have some time to get Ilia Topuria another matchup, maybe get Max Holloway another matchup to get him a little bit closer, even an Arnold Allen. So maybe if Volkanovski does lose, it does put the division in a better spot. But just in general, if Volkanovski wins against Yair Rodriguez, man, this is a really tough spot for the division, because if that happens and Ilia Topuria wins, it'll be like a month turnover at this point. What is it? It's, well, not even then. It'll be like a couple weeks. So what will likely happen is maybe they just thrust Ilia Topuria in that title shot, which I think that's the only thing you can kind of do here. If he does beat Josh Emmett, a top 5 opponent, who's going to take it? Who's the guy that takes it over Ilia Topuria if there's a title shot in the featherweight division? Maybe you just have Volkanovski fight the loser of Gaethje and Poirier at lightweight, and then just have Ilia Topuria fight like a Brian Ortega coming off an injury, and then he gets the next contender. Say Volkanovski wins or loses at lightweight, comes back down, fights Topuria, and then goes back up and gets the rematch. Because in general, at lightweight, you have, at this point, if Volkanovski does beat Yair Rodriguez, you have him as a possible rematch for Islam Makhachev, because that fight was extremely close, could have gone either way, in my opinion. Then you have the winner of Gaethje Poirier, which has been said to be a contenders matchup for the title, and then you have Charles Oliveira. So that division is in a weird spot as well. And I think, really, I don't want to say it, but like the featherweight division will be in a better spot if Volkanovski loses. But I think this says more about how good of a champ Volkanovski is, and basically how Ilia Topuria is the last guy in this one to have a chance to take out Volkanovski at this point. And I think this is why this is such a big matchup for him this weekend, because realistically, if he loses, there's no one next. Like, legitimately, there's no one next. It's only Yair there to take out Volkanovski, and if he doesn't, Volkanovski's looking at lightweight at this point and probably taking a lot of months off to get this division refreshed, because there's no way Max Holloway's getting a title shot off of beating Korean Zombie. Brian Ortega's not close. Yair Rodriguez wouldn't be close either, because he lost to Max Holloway already. Arnold Allen lost to Max Holloway once he got up there. Josh Emmett would have lost twice in a row if he loses to Topuria. I mean, we're talking about a very scarce division. A lot of people are saying Topuria is the future of this division, which I don't mind either. He's still very young. I think he's like 27, 26, 27. Still very young in this division. I think has a really good chance in here. And I think I'm kind of straying away towards more like praising Volkanovski here, but this is really 13-0 Topuria rising up in this division. This is his chance. He'll probably be like the last person to get this opportunity against Volkanovski, and if he can't get it done, it'll likely just be Volkanovski at lightweight for a little bit. So this is why this is such a big matchup this weekend. I think Ilia Topuria is the last contender, real contender, untouched contender that hasn't. You can't use your MMA math to say, oh, he's this and that, because even, well, the reason why I kind of say that too as well, like we can say that we have seen some weakness from Topuria, who moved up to lightweight for a matchup and got hurt really badly by Jai Herbert, and then ended up knocking him out brutally. But that's like the only bad thing we've seen from Topuria at this point. Maybe in this 5-round fight, some more glaring stuff will happen. I think this is a really big test for Topuria as well. So this is a really big matchup this weekend. Don't let it pass by your radar. Extremely big matchup. He is really the only contender left here. If you can't really say anyone deserves it over Topuria. I'm not going to say after this win, because realistically he probably should get another win before he gets the title shot, but really there's no one left. Volkanovski has almost cleaned out this division, and realistically there's no real contender moving up. So Ilia Topuria has a lot on his table this weekend. Let's see if he can get it done against Josh Emmett, and realistically, if Yair Rodriguez does beat him, it does kind of release this worry a little bit more in this division. UFC can start throwing more contenders up, and you can't really justify Volkanovski moving up if he does lose to Yair and stay in the division and wins and gets the rematch. But maybe he just moves up into lightweight in general. But I don't know. He's the last contender, real contender in my mind. Undefeated. Isn't like a Mavzar here, where Mavzar has had his weakness against a Diego Lopez on short notice. That's all I'll say. Diego Lopez was in some fight-ending positions. Obviously, it's good that Mavzar was able to get out of it, but he was put in some fight-ending positions on short notice against a guy that's not known by many, thrusted into the position. So, big matchup for Topuria this weekend. Last real contender in my mind. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.